Okay, family. So I have been reading this book for about 3 months now. I'm gonna be honest. I have picked it up and put it down and just flipped through it, but I haven't been consistent with it. And so I am starting from the day that I left off, but I have been consistent these last 2 days. And so today is the power of new. And I don't know, it might bless you like it's going to bless me because it's been blessing me. I pray that it blesses you, but hopefully you can read with me and just read out loud with me. So, the power of new. Why did Jesus already why did Jesus need to give his followers a new commandment? Weren't there already plenty of commandments in the Old Testament? Weren't the commandments to love God and to love our neighbor enough? This command of Jesus is new, not so much in the content, but in the way it is to be lived. There was an old way of doing things, and Jesus is telling his disciples that there must now be a new way of doing things. We all have our old ways of doing things, but Jesus wants to do something new in our lives. The old commandments were empowered in different ways from the new one. The old commandments were empowered by traditional habits, the way we always done it. The new commandment is empowered by our dependence on God's power, the way Jesus did it. The old commandments were based on written rules. The new commandment is based on a living example, Jesus Christ. The old commandments were motivated by fear of judgment God would bring on those who disobeyed. The new commandment is motivated by love. Come on, love. There is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not made perfect in love. 1 John 4 and 18. This comparison of the old and new applies to our relationship as well. Some relationships become old, some remain new. Some relationships degrade into habit rules. Some relationships degrade into habit, rules, how we always done it after many years. Okay, go back and read again, Keitha. Some relationships become old, some remain new. Some relationships degrade into habit, rules, have we always done it. Others continue to bask in the fresh air of newness, even after many years. If you had a ledger sheet with the word old on one side and the word new on the other, on which side would you place the most important relationships in your life? Wow, that's a good question. Where do you need to take a love that's old and make it new? Jesus' new commandment is the key to renewing love. His command gives the path and the power for moving from old to new. Instead of just abiding by the letter of the law, you let the Spirit of the Lord begin to reign. Instead of just doing what you've always done, you begin to act with genuine concern for the other person. Instead of obeying a list of rules, you follow a living example. How much of what you call love has become just a habit? Wow. You do what you do today because you did it yesterday. Wow. Whether bathing your kids or going to work to support your family or giving an offering to the Lord, how can you renew a love that has grown old? Some think the only way to make something new is to start over. Get a new wife, get a new family. That's the way to make things new, we think. It never works. Of course, because this week's new becomes next week's old. Wow, that's powerful. Here, instead of where to begin, rediscover the attitude of love in the everyday habits of your life. You simply take the things that have become mere habit and inject love into them again. Remember the expression of love that bubbled up as you enjoyed your first meal together as a couple. Remember the first time you picked up your new baby. Remember the love that was there at the beginning. Go back to that. Say to yourself as you do to that routine task, I'm doing this because I love him. I am acting with love as I do for her. Try it for a week and see what happens. I cannot promise that this little step will solve every relational problem, but it will solve many of them, and it will get your heart to a place where you can find the strength to work on the other problems as well. This is the way to renew even our relationship with God. When the believers who lived in Ephesus turned from their love for Jesus' advice was change your hearts and do what you did at first. Revelation 2 and 5. The secret to renewing their love wasn't in some new thing they could discover or do. It was in doing the things they had done at the beginning with a new attitude that resulted from changed hearts. Why is this so important? Because much of life is routine. If you don't allow love to become a part of your routine of life, love will be missing from the majority of the minutes in your day. If you find yourself still wondering if you have the ability to make this daily choice to love, remember that this new commandment was given to us by Jesus. Jesus walked this earth as God in human flesh. No one knows us better than he does. And Jesus never commands us to do something he is not willing and able to empower us to do. Sorry, y'all. Whenever you see a command from God in the Bible, it contains an applied promise. Why? Because God would never command you to do something he wouldn't give you the power to do. That would be cruel. Sometimes we think of God sitting in heaven saying, what can I do to really ruin their day today? To really make them feel guilty today? That's not the way God thinks. Every time I see a command, I can say to myself, I can do that by God's power. Here are two stories to illustrate the effect of these two different ways of thinking. One about an engine trying to climb a mountain, and another about a disciple trying to walk on water. You remember the first story, the little engine that could? This famous children's story told of the little engine that chanted, I think I can, on its way to the top of the mountain. It's a wonderful children's story, but we shouldn't get our philosophy of the Christian life from it. The second story comes from the Bible. It's the story of the disciple Peter, who took a walk on the water of the Sea of Galilee. Meanwhile, the disciples were in trouble far away from land, for a strong wind had risen, and they were fighting heavy waves. About 3 o'clock in the morning, Jesus came to them walking on water. When the disciples saw him, they screamed in terror, thinking he was a ghost. But Jesus said to them at once, It's all right, he said. I'm here. Don't be afraid. Then Peter called out to him, saying, Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come to you by walking on water. All right, come, Jesus said. So Peter went over the side of the boat and walked on the water toward Jesus. But when he looked around at the high waves, he was terrified and began to sink. Save me, Lord, he shouted. Instantly, Jesus reached out his hand and grabbed him. You don't have much faith, Jesus said. Why did you doubt me? And when they climbed back into the boat, the wind stopped. That's the NLT version, Matthew 14:24-32. How did Peter walk on water for those few seconds? It certainly wasn't because Jesus told him to chant, I think I can, I think I can. He walked on water by focusing on Jesus. It was when his focus moved from Jesus to the waves that he began to sink. Come on, focus. That's the word of the month, of the year. There are two ways to live life. The I think I can life and the I know I can't, but I know God can life. The first life is entirely dependent on your own motivation and energy. The attractive thing about this life is that because we are each wonderful creations of God, there are many things we can accomplish on our own. The problem with that, the I think I can life, is that there's always another mountain to climb. And one day you're going to run into a mountain that you can't climb. I think I can will not get us over the most important mountains of life. Facing our genuine inadequacies, our disconnection from God, and the reality of our own death. One of the most refreshing and energizing moments in any life is the moment someone says, I know I can't, but I know God can. God can do it in me, what I cannot do for myself. So the questions to ponder is, God will never command you to do something he will not give you the power to do. And the verse to remember is, there is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out all fear. Because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not made perfect in love. 1 John 4:18. Question to consider. How can I take a love that's old and allow God to make it new? Feelings are important. That's tomorrow. I love y'all. Be blessed.